When I walk in a room, heads go down. Behind my back, I'm nothing. I'm just a regular old comedian that's bitter and jealous. But in my face, no, no, no. The king has walked in and they have to respect it only because I've not taken the shortcuts. I've not been funded. They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves. I can't do that because Steve told you that he stopped doing stand-up because he has 7 TV shows. The only problem is when he stopped stand-up, he didn't have those 7 TV shows. He stopped stand-up because he got in a comedy battle called the Championship of Stand-Up Comedy with one Cat Williams in Detroit in front of 10,000 people and lost because Cat Williams said he was actually bald and that was a wig. And I went in, and that's why he couldn't do stand-up anymore. Imagine him coming to tell you another story.
Celebrity Insider News. Hollywood is in the spotlight as the ongoing feud between comedians Cat Williams and Steve Harvey takes a dramatic and unexpected turn. What initially seemed like harmless back-and-forth banter has now intensified into a serious conflict. Cat Williams recently escalated the situation by firing back with a sharp response after Steve Harvey, in a surprising move, threatened to physically confront him. This tension between the two has been building for years, with both comedians taking subtle digs at each other in their routines and interviews. However, the situation became more heated a few months ago when Cat Williams publicly criticized Steve Harvey, making pointed remarks that clearly struck a nerve. Despite the history of bad blood, it wasn't until now that Steve Harvey decided to respond directly to Cat's comments, setting the stage for what has become a highly publicized and increasingly hostile feud. The conflict has captured the attention of fans and media alike, with many speculating about what might happen next between these two comedy giants. What started as a rivalry rooted in their professional careers has now spilled over into a more personal and potentially explosive confrontation.
So Steve Harvey is finally responding to Cat Williams after Cat Williams blasted him and maybe exposed him on the Club Shay Shay interview 9 months ago? Well, he finally has a response, seemingly a response back to that interview.
Man, you'll never have a hater that's doing better than you. Always know that. Don't get off the wall to dress some pity boy who ain't got shit going for himself. Now you done stopped your climb up on the wall so you can come down here and talk to his little punk ass. Don't do that, man. I stay away from it. Now, do I want to? Yes. Because I'm a human being and I'm hood. I used to be a fighter and I still got hands. They slow, but if you get up on me real close, I can still knock your monkey ass out. I just don't have the quickness I have, but I still know how to turn my hip and shift that weight, and I'll knock your short ass out. I'll shoot your perm.
If you've been following the story, you'll remember that earlier this year, Cat Williams didn't hold back during an interview where he called out Steve Harvey and a few other comedians. Cat accused Steve of various things, including stealing jokes and being a talentless industry plant. Although Steve played it cool initially, it was obvious that Cat's words struck a nerve. Now, 7 months later, Steve has responded by threatening to confront Cat if they cross paths again. However, Cat, who is known for standing his ground, wasn't about to let that slide. His comeback was just as sharp, and at this point, it seems like the situation could potentially escalate into a physical altercation. Steve Harvey has finally broken his silence and is coming out swinging. It's clear that the tensions between him and Cat Williams are at an all-time high.
The same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he wear a suit and then he gets this high top fade, making all black men think he got the best lineup in the business, and it's a man unit. Then you ask it, why you not a movie star? I didn't want to be a movie star. This the same that hated on Bernie with this same thing. I didn't want to be a movie star. No, you couldn't be a movie star. There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good over KB and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none. You would have to have range.
Cat Williams ignited this feud during a candid and explosive interview with Shannon Sharpe, where he didn't just throw casual shade, he unleashed a blistering critique of the entire comedy industry. In that interview, Kat targeted some of the biggest and most respected names in comedy, including Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, Cedric the Entertainer, and Ricky Smiley. He accused them of being lazy, lacking real talent, and serving as mere industry plants who benefited from connections rather than genuine skill. One of Kat's most scathing attacks was aimed directly at Steve Harvey. He accused Steve of abandoning stand-up comedy altogether and criticized him for having no real creative output in recent years. Kat claimed that Steve had never truly headlined his own tour in the past 30 years, suggesting that Steve had distanced himself from the core of what it means to be a comedian. Kat wasn't just attacking Steve's current career choices, he was questioning Steve's entire legacy in the comedy world. But Kat didn't stop there. He escalated his critique by accusing Steve Harvey of being a talentless fraud who only managed to stay relevant in the entertainment industry by riding the coattails of others. According to Kat, Steve was deeply jealous of the late Bernie Mac, a legendary figure in comedy, and even went as far as to work against Bernie while he was still alive. Kat alleged that after Bernie Mac's passing, Steve wasted no time in trying to adopt Bernie's comedic style and persona, essentially attempting to fill the void left by Bernie's death and claiming his legacy as his own. To Kat Williams, this behavior was not just unprofessional but a profound betrayal. Bernie Mac was revered in the comedy world as an icon, and Kat viewed Steve's actions as a disrespectful and opportunistic move to capitalize on Bernie's legacy. By accusing Steve of these actions, Kat painted a picture of Steve Harvey as someone who, in his view, lacked originality and integrity, further fueling the already intense feud between the two comedians. Kat Williams didn't hold back when he accused Steve Harvey of being unable to tolerate the success of his peers. In his tirade, Kat also took aim at Steve for allegedly stealing material from fellow comedian Mark Curry. He pointed specifically to Steve's old sitcom, The Steve Harvey Show, where Steve played the role of a high school principal with a signature high-top fade. According to Kat, this entire persona wasn't an original creation of Steve's, but was instead lifted directly from Mark Curry's act. Kat claimed that Steve had attended one of Mark Curry's performances and then shamelessly took everything from Mark's routine to mold his own sitcom character. This, Kat argued, was not just about borrowing a few jokes, it was about Steve taking entire concepts, including the character's look, style, and mannerisms, and repackaging them as his own to build his career. For Kat, this act of appropriation wasn't just a minor offense, it was a blatant example of Steve Harvey building his success on the backs of other comedians. He painted Steve as someone who, rather than relying on his own creativity and talent, had no problem exploiting the work of others to climb the Hollywood ladder. Kat's accusations went beyond simple joke theft. They questioned the very foundation of Steve Harvey's comedic legacy, suggesting that much of his success was built on ideas and material that weren't originally his. This portrayal of Steve as a comedian lacking originality and integrity further deepened the rift between the two, adding more fuel to an already fiery feud. The most personal accusation Kat Williams leveled against Steve Harvey was calling him out for allegedly lying about his past to gain sympathy. Steve Harvey has often shared his rags to riches story, including claims that he was once homeless before making it big in comedy. However, Kat completely dismissed this narrative, asserting that Steve was never homeless and was actually making thousands of dollars while touring with Mark Curry.